Okay, this is Trophy Gold, Leviathan's Bridge, Part 2. I want to do a quick recap of where we were at last time, and then just a little bit of character housekeeping, and then we will get started. So we started Leviathan's Bridge last time. That involved you all going to a place called the Marsh Cradle, which is like a little kind of marshy area near the sea. And you through some various, I'm kind of summarizing here, but essentially you found a map to the place called Seeker's Rest, which is where you're actually trying to find. Seeker's Rest is this sort of religious and cultural site for for goblins, or a particular branch of goblins, I suppose. And you're hoping to reach this temple that is high in the canopy treetops of Seeker's Rest. It is there's a, if you reach that high point, there's said to be a great Leviathan or whale skeleton. It's actually a Ballandrakier skeleton, for those of us who know what that is. It's a sort of dead, extinct whale creature. And that's a bridge, and then the skull of the whale is the actual temple. And of course, you are there ostensibly to find artifacts and treasures like you always are. But in this particular incursion, you have the option of clearing your burdens by reaching the temple and meditating there, or otherwise performing some kind of ritual there that allows you to gain some kind of insight about your character, which will count as clearing your burdens. And so that's sort of where we're at. You had just arrived at Seeker's Rest, and we'd done a little bit of color in Seeker's Rest, and then that's where we stopped. Were there any particular things about your characters you want to remind us of that happened last time that's worth pointing out so we don't forget this time?
I am partially merged with a mangrove right now from kind of being too successful on the dark dice last go around.
Yeah, love that.
Osto has an unpleasant goat that.
Oh yeah, the goat. I didn't forget to ask about that last time. Did you take the goat with you to Seeker's Rest?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have the goat, and also something to do with the orphanage too, right? What was the deal with the orphanage?
A barge that was from the orphanage Osto grew up in that may have been transporting illegally procured goods.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. And was there anything else? I think that feels about right.
I'd written down one note here, and I actually don't quite remember what I meant by it. I'd written down the streets of Seeker's Rest are mapped to a constellation. Ask Ethelinda.
Oh yeah, Ethelinda told us that. Said that they're arranged in like constellation patterns, right?
Yeah, I didn't specify beyond that, though. It was just an answer to like building a scene question.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I want to do just a little bit of character housekeeping, and basically all that means is if you'll just scroll down to the part of the character sheet that has a block of information starting with gold. So gold, hunt tokens, ruin, conditions, and burdens. I just want each of you to read those out for us, both for ourselves and for anybody watching the video. I'm going to start in reverse order here. So Ethelinda, tell us your upkeep info.
I have 1 gold, 2 hunt tokens, 3 ruin. Oh yeah, should we have spent our hunt tokens before coming here then?
No, you get to keep those between sets.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm inhabited, and Haunted by the Siren is technically from the last one, but I like it, so if I can keep it, then I'll keep it.
I'll find a way to work it in. And what are your burdens now?
Oh, right. 6 burdens, because
Okay.
I have the egg on.
Right. Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you. Osto.
I have 1 gold, 1 hunt token, sitting at 3 ruin and 6 burdens. And I have my usual conditions: blood tainted by old Caldur, marked by bear spirit, cannot tell a lie. I'm still a 12-year-old, and I'm bitten by a goat with a swamp rot infection.
Very good. Love all that. Great. Korgaluk.
Just the usual stuff for Osto, apparently. I have 0 gold and 0 hunt tokens. I lost them all. I have a ruin of 4, Some old conditions are shared breath with the bear, the birthing dream from Hester's Mill, in love with porcelain-faced beetle woman Patience Davies. I have a wrist made of some spiderweb threads, and I am fused with a mangrove. And my burdens are 5.
Fabulous, thank you. And Glynneth. Oh, we cannot hear you. We had you momentarily before, and then yeah, something happened with the input. Yeah, it's probably something on the headphones, I imagine, some kind of button or something. Okay, great. So Glynneth, tell us your stuff.
I have 0 gold and 3 hunt tokens. And remind me, as a new player, I spend hunt tokens. I can spend 3 to get a gold.
No, you can spend
correct?
1. You can spend 1 to find a treasure worth 1 gold.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and collectively you can spend 3 to accomplish set goals automatically. So
okay. And then my starting ruin is 2. And I currently have no conditions, despite the fact that I think that I might smell quite a bit like a swamp fish. And my burdens are currently 3.
Awesome. What did we name those fish? Didn't we give us a name?
I should look back at my notes.
Let me look. We have so many monsters now. Mud devils, or that's what I see. Awesome. Okay, great. So let me just reread the set that we were in and kind of say that again, basically, sort of put us there anew. But it's Seeker's Rest, and the set goal is earn acceptance as visitors to the city. So I'll type that for you. And so rewinding just a little bit, sort of emerging from the mist, it's this island formed entirely of mangroves, a wall of interwoven roots and branches rising from the sea. Its upper tiers vanish into the fog. There are rope ladders and driftwood walkways jutting out in every direction. Glowing lanterns and tent flaps hang throughout the roots and branches, while a maze of tunnels and chambers within conceal the true density of the city. Small coracles and heavy canoes line the piers, where a few fishing poles are tended by goblin folk and others who make their home there. Now, and I described a few other things. I was particularly fond of the young goblin feeding scraps to her blue lobster on a leash, but there's also goblins wrestling with squid and trying to get a turtle shell coracle to float and so forth. You basically have sort of 3 general areas you can kind of go to here in Seeker's Rest. There is the Haven. The Haven is the dizzying assemblage of stairs, rope ladders, and footbridges that sort of decorate the mangrove roots, right? And there are dwellings sort of hanging from the sides of trees, while others are simply sort of flaps over root burrows. Everything is fashioned from woven fibers, salvaged textiles, and driftwood. So basically the Haven where people live is kind of a place you can go to inquire about the temple or anything else you want to inquire about. There's the Salt Market, which is a massive hollow at the center of the grove where there are various market sorts of things to be found. And then there's the Heart Tree. Now the Heart Tree is, you'll see the Heart Tree. It's visible sort of in the center of Seeker's Rest, but you do have to kind of, I think it's one of those things where it's kind of a sacred place, and so it might be a little tricky to go there until you've sort of like established yourself in the community a little bit, but you can give it a go and see what happens if you approach it. In any case, I think I want to go around the table and find out what you're all interested in doing, and then we'll just frame up scenes from there. So, Ethelinda, what do you think?
And our goal is to gain acceptance. Is there anything I could rush to help with, like that the squid wrestling or the floating of the shell or something like that.
I
Like,
love all that. Yeah. Do a hunt roll. You're just kind of keeping your eye out for like things that might be just to show people that you're friendly and yeah. I like that.
Hunt 1, 6.
Nice. Take a token. We'll come back to that. Asto, what are you doing?
I think at this point he's kind of looking around, seeing if he can spot any beast bitten or other people like him that he can maybe connect with.
Yeah, make a hunt roll.
Would that transformation skill help?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mhm.
That's a 6.
Nice. Take your token. We'll come back to that. Korkaluk, what about you?
Oh, they're on fire. Fraser, did you say that Ethelinda was helping with the overturned shell coracle, or
We don't know yet. She's just looking for now.
All right, I had a similar concept to try and help out with a task at the harbor here. If that's too clunky, I can instead try and engage with some of the local mannequins.
No, I think either of those is going to be fine. Which one do you prefer?
All right, I'll try and help out with the turtle shell coracle repairing, whatever.
Yeah. I like that. If you'll just go straight for that, we'll frame up that scene in a moment. And Gwyneth, what about you?
At the end of last session, I had said that I would likely go to the place of commerce and where people were trading or bartering of any kind. So I probably would have wanted to head towards the salt market. Is that something that's visible from the shore? Should I ask a few people where it is?
So you don't have to ask because you will hear hawkers trying to get
Excellent.
your coin, right? So the hawkers are very, it's mostly fishmongers, it sounds like, sort of yelling out things to try to entice you about their latest catch. Sometimes if you look in their baskets, the creatures are not immediately identifiable and the freshness is questionable, but if you can kind of follow that a little bit to figure out where the salt market is, right? So yeah, that's no trouble at all. But we'll come back to that as well. So Ethelinda, you are looking around. Korkaluk's going to go help the people with the turtle shell coracle, and you're kind of looking around, just maybe seeing who might need help with something, and or just kind of getting a lay of the land. It sounds like, and you will discover that, well, not discover, but you'll see 2 goblin twins. They're identical twins. They're both this vivid shade of teal, and they look identical. And they're also perfectly bald. And you can hear them chattering away, but in a language you don't recognize. It doesn't even sound like the goblin language. It's maybe their own language. They're just like a secret language, and they're like chattering with each other. But they're clearly like looking at you, and they're not like taunting you or making fun of you, but they're like clearly watching you and and kind of speaking in this this dialect of theirs. What do you do?
I do have translation. Could I try to pick out some words of the root language or something and then reply in a friendly manner or something?
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah. Just because you have the skill, I don't need to roll or anything. I'll tell you that you can hear them. What they're saying is they're basically saying, maybe she can help us. Like, or maybe she would know.
And I would try to reply with something like, perhaps I can.
Ah, very good. So they will begin speaking in the common tongue once they realize that you can understand them a little bit, and they'll say something like, one of them will introduce themselves and say, I'm Kiri, and this is Neely. And no one has ever been able to understand the words we speak to each other. How were you able to do so?
I'm a student.
And then they sort of look at each other. Don't take this the wrong way, but most students that we encounter are not as august as you.
I am in a special case. I consider my learning an ongoing process for all of my life.
And then they say, well, perhaps you could help us with some trouble we're having.
I would try.
There is another ancient one in Seeker's Rest, another crone. And she vexes us. And perhaps someone who has seen as much of the world as she has would be able to confer with her, to find out what her concern is with us, why she keeps tormenting us, and get her to stop.
How is she tormenting you?
And then they look at each other. It's probably best if you go and speak to her yourself.
I see, but I can be assured that you are good people and not tormenting this person and getting retribution that's just.
They say something to each other in their language. And they look at you and say, yes, you can be assured.
Okay, great.
We'll come back to Osto. Osto, you're looking for Beast Bitten, right?
Yes.
How intriguing. What are the telltale signs of Beast Bittenism? How do you know?
I think a lot of beast bitten, especially when they're outside of city centers, are more content to display a little more of their animal selves.
How interesting. You will see a person, not a goblin, probably more of a man, I suppose, but they definitely have the markings of a shark. Like they have like the skin markings of a shark. They even maybe have like a slightly somewhat prominent, like, what do we call that on the back of a shark?
Fin?
The fin, yeah. You know, and they're just smoking a pipe, sitting down, smoking a pipe, watching some goblins roll dice. What do you do?
Asta will take his new goat friend, or goat, and approach kind of, from the side a little bit, pretending to be interested in the goblins too.
I'm drowning. What are you gonna do about that?
He'll just reach back and just clamp a hand over the goat's mouth. Just,
the shark-like man with his pipe looks up and says, marsh goats, they are not normally the sorts of creatures that are content to be restrained in that way. How have you managed to wrangle this one?
I think we've come to an understanding. I might not taste very good.
Yes. Well, how did someone as young as you happen to end up here in Seeker's Rest?
I'm actually older than I look. It's a long story. But me and my friends are here looking for all sorts of things, really.
Well, and he's sort of like looking at you, and he says, I can tell that you have You possess a certain favor similar to my own. How did you manage to come across that favor?
I got on the wrong side of a bear and the right side of a cure.
He says, interesting. A cure. You do not wish to be like us anymore?
I wasn't given much of a choice.
And we'll cut the scene there. Korkulak. Yeah, so they have these like damaged turtle shell coracles, and they're these big, huge things, you know. And they thought they managed to get one of them to float, but then it just like sinks almost immediately. So after they give up a cheer of like excitement, it just like starts sinking. There's something they've flubbed the repairs in some way, or they misunderstand something about the situation. What do you do?
Since I don't really need to breathe much, I'm going to offer to, go underneath and sort of from the underside figure out where it's leaking and see if I can somehow, if they'll accept my help. Kind of say, hey, I can look underneath there for you. Like I'll check under the hood and take a look if you don't mind. You're muted, Jason.
They say, yes, please, please.
All right. You want a hunt roll, risk roll?
I don't know. I don't know. Like if I think a hunt roll is probably appropriate because, going down to the water might be kind of fundamentally dangerous. Maybe something bad could happen. Do a hunt roll.
All right.
Take your token. Does anyone have any thoughts about what could be wrong with the boat? I'm like,
maybe the bonding agent, when they've sealed it, is like not water soluble, so it starts leaking or something.
I like that. That's pretty good. Like you can see it degrading or whatever when you go down there.
Yeah, well, you would see the bubbles coming from the other side where the sealant is not working properly.
Okay. How does that
Could
sound,
be
Korkulak?
like a sort of an infestation of some kind of worms or other parasite that's nibbling away at the shell.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm okay with either. They both sound like pretty cool ideas. Let's go with the worms. So maybe you see these worms. You're down there.
All right. I'll pop my head up out of the water, kind of lean my arm over the edge of the cork and be like, "Look here, you got a bad case of tortoise worms. I've seen this before, but the fix isn't pretty."
And they will sort of they'll start like an argument will break out, right? Because one of them was supposed to have like put some sort of like repellent on it, but they were being a cheapskate about the whole thing, and so they didn't do that. And now it's happened, and they're just arguing and carrying on. The terrible thing you encounter, you see a group of people, mostly human, although a couple of goblins too, but they are wearing perfectly white robes that are draped with bleached white bones. So like white robes of these like bleached white bone accoutrement and headpieces and things, right? And they are walking up on the pier, and you can tell that they're making everyone nervous. Like everyone's like getting away from them, right? And they're just kind of carrying on like, the time of the all-devourer is nigh. Who will be an honorable sacrifice for the all-devourer so that Seeker's Rest might be spared their terrible and awesome power? And everyone's just like walking away. There you are in the water, and their eyes like turn to you. What do you do or say?
The eyes of these human sort of religious zealots.
Yeah, you'll even hear one of them say, "Oh, it's the cult of the all devourer. Let's get out of here." Right?
All the more. Excellent. What do I say? So, look, there's nothing organic on me. I'm not.
Actually,
I'm
let's
not
just hold that
gonna
thought. We'll come back to it. I'm going to come
Okay.
over to Gleneth. So, Gleneth, you go to the salt market, and the salt market is a massive hollow at the center of the sort of grove of mangrove trees, or near the center. And there are tents surrounding an open pool of ocean there. And you can see the tide swelling below. And there are immense cone-shaped baskets sort of submerged in the pool, hanging there, where various small fish and crustaceans are raised. And then all around the perimeter of that are stalls and things of that can be where you can go and like sort of purchase wares or trade for wares and that kind of thing. What are you looking for? What do you do?
I think that I would first look into what kind of food smells are coming from this place. My original intent in coming to the market was actually hoping to buy a big fat sack of salt, because
Yeah.
it's called the salt market. I figure they must have it here somewhere.
Sure, yeah.
But just like wandering through a new food space, I'd be like, "Ooh, what does that smell? Oh, that's vinegar pickled something," and just kind of do a little bit of a look-see. Does it seem like people are actively bartering? It can't be a gold situation here. It's got to be trade for like, or
It's definitely more trade focused. You might have some. There are some out of town merchants who probably take your coin, but the local merchants will want to barter, right? You do smell almost a cloying, pungent smoke of cooking fires, and also incense. There's this very, very heady like aroma. It's actually putting you in a bit of a light trance. Like it's so like heavy and drowsy, right? And maybe everyone here is accustomed to it, but you as an outsider are sort of like experiencing it for the first time. But yes, you will see people doing trade and things. As you walk by one particular, you walk by a stall and there's a goblin there, and the goblin says, "I know what you seek. You wish to go up, and I can help you."
I, in fact, do the opposite and look down to my own clothes. And I had been draped in a lot of fabrics and scarves and things and tying them off, and I'm wet from the journey through the swamp, and then covered in drying swamp muck from the fish that flopped up on top of me not several hours ago at this point. So I'm just caked in mud and filth. And I look at this goblin and I say, "How far up do I need to go?"
I do not know the distance, but I do know the way. And the way, my friend, is with these fabulous crab claw climbing hooks and seaweed ropes. And he pulls them out. And he's ready to trade you for these.
I could, in fact, like take off one of my scarves, which would be fine once you wash it, but it's a fine, like sturdy, lightweight cotton, which you'd probably have maybe 2 yards of it. It's skinny enough that you'd band it, or
Yeah,
and I would offer to trade for 2 hooks and enough rope to the other end of the hole, the water that's sunken in the middle of the mangroves. That's the distance.
He'll take the cloth and he'll say, outsider cloth. We don't frequently get that here. Yes. I could part with 1 fine crab claw hook and a great deal length of seaweed rope for this amount of cloth.
And I look at Do I have any sort of sense if he is underselling me? Can I
Of course he
intuit
is.
anything about this goblin? Yes,
Yeah,
of
he's
course.
absolutely underselling you.
I am a stranger in a strange land, and he's trying to. Well, cons love a conner, so I would say I don't think so. Thank you very much. I will take my very nice cloth back from him and play a little hard to get and see if I get another offer.
He says, all right. It's best to sell them in twos anyway. Easier to manage inventory that way. Since crabs have 2 claws. Fine. 2 crab claw hooks and a good length of seaweed rope.
Thank you. Any idea of where I could get some salt? And then we can just kind of end the scene there if you want.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you can add that to your gear now. Crab claw hooks, crab claw climbing hooks, and seaweed ropes. Ethelinda, you arrive at the salt market with your 2 new friends, Kiri and Neely, and you see Gleneth haggling with one of the merchants, and you also start to smell that like cloying smell. And Kiri and Neely say they stand at the edge of the great like round pool of water where all the fish baskets are, and they say, and they sort of raise up their hands and they say, Grandmother Greenteeth, Grandmother Greenteeth, we are here to poke you between your bones. And they look at each other and they're talking in their language. And there doesn't seem to be anything going on. What do you do?
Interesting. I think I know why she's got a bone to pick with them. They keep getting poked. I would like to. What are my skills? Perhaps I could attune myself to the area that they are focusing on to see if there's anything down there. But before I do that, I want to spend my tokens.
Okay. How many tokens do you want to spend?
3.
3. Oh, all 3, huh? Okay. I will make your I will give you a good trade for your tokens. Okay. As you enter the market, one of the merchants says, Madam, goblin merchant, I saw you and your companions arrive at the pier earlier today, and I noticed that you are somewhat underdressed. I would be happy to make a fine trade for 3 sets of fabulous armor, local armor. And he pulls it out, and it's this crab shell armor, reinforced with mangrove bark and shark skin leather. And he says, I have 3 sets for trade if you have something fine to trade.
Will he take the I guess for tokens, I guess it would just be fictional positioning whenever I want.
I mean, yeah, just find something to trade him.
But I want my lantern.
Goat milk?
Or trade him a star chart or something, or a reading, or
Oh yeah, I'm sure I have lots of different texts from when I was like on my journeys and stuff like that. I'm sure I sketched the sky all the time, so maybe just a whole bunch of those, like a collection.
Oh, nice.
Does someone to do palm readings?
Yeah, no.
He'll take a look at your drawings and he'll say, interesting. Yes, I think the seers and lore masters would be very, very happy to see some of these things. They're very, very concerned with the stars, And he says, yes, that could certainly earn me earned me a fine position here in Seeker's Rest. He says, how many more notes do you have? How much more documentation, research?
I have a substantial amount. Everywhere I go, I take notes, as you know. I'm a star seer and such, so it is my trade to do this thing wherever I travel.
He'll take your research notes, which he will then convey to the seers of this place, who are very, very interested in such things. And yeah, in exchange for the armor, 3 sets of it, in fact.
3 sets of what is it called?
It's light armor, giant crab shell armor, reinforced with shark skin leather and tree bark. You probably can't lug all that around, but Kiri and Neely will help you lug it around until you can get it to wherever you need it to be.
Okay, sounds good.
They say they're bundling the armor up, and they're rolling it up in tight bundles. And as they're sort of bundling up the armor, you hear from over in the saltwater little pit, you hear a voice rising up. Kiri and Neely, I answer your call. And they just smile at each other. Osto, where did we leave you? You were talking to one of the Beast Bitten, right?
Yes.
What was the last thing we decided on, or what was the last thing we talked about?
Osto had mentioned he had been cured, and the man
Right. Yeah.
expressed questions.
Yeah. He says, well, the decision was yours to make, of course. I've learned to live with my condition. I consider it a boon, in fact. And here in Seeker's Rest, no one treats me differently because of it.
I was under the impression that without a cure, I'd lose myself fully.
Perhaps, but there are ways to manage it. There are certainly ways to even turn it to your benefit, control it. I have sorted out such things, and I don't feel confident that I could ever return to the lands of my birth, but fortunately I've found a good community here.
I don't suppose any of those ways would be easily taught to a new friend.
Well, it is not for me to teach you. It is for you to learn on your own. In the temple, if you can get there.
That's good to know. I was interested in getting there already. Any do you know how?
Well, I would start at the shrine. There's a shrine at the base of the heart tree. That's where 95% of the residents of Seeker's Rest practice their religion and do whatever they need to do in the spiritual realm. Very, very few people go higher than that into the canopy above, to the Leviathan's bridge. That's where you need to go if you wish to reach the temple. I will tell you, though, no one can reach the temple without first getting past the temple guardian. And he shows you some very prominent scars all over his body. He says the temple guardian is not an easy thing to trifle with.
Doesn't look like this is just will he attack on sight, or is there some way to perhaps gain access past him?
Well, I've heard stories that some people have managed to sneak past the temple guardian, but that was not my way. I chose to face it in single combat, and I nearly lost my life for it. But it did make the eventual prize all the sweeter in its way.
That's good to know, because I'm at a bit of a physical disadvantage right now. It's just temporary, but probably.
Indeed. So, Korkalek, the cult of the All Devourer are looking at you rather conspicuously as they request people to be sacrifices in order to spare Seeker's Rest. What do you do or say?
I say, my bony brethren, I don't have much to offer, but from your garments, your vestments, clearly you are affiliated with that massive temple in the Balindra here. Skull, tell me more about it.
Ha! We are not. That is foolishness, they say. Why would anyone want to reach the heavens when the true power, everyone knows, lies beneath the surface of the water? Close to the earth, the center of the earth. That is where the All Devourer lives. That is where they shall rise. That is from where they shall rise, and that is where they shall begin their all-consuming proclivities. They will swallow up Seeker's Rest. They will swallow up all the lands, and only those of us who were loyal in the beginning will be spared.
Fascinating. These bones they're wearing, are they terrestrial bones, or do they look like fish skeletons or things like that?
Let us help you out of the water, and we'll have this conversation. And they reach down to help you out of the water.
I said, "Oh, that's too kind, but I've got some repair work to do here. I'm busy. I appreciate the offer, though."
They say, "Very well. No, these sacred vestments are the bones of a now extinct creature that we believe are children of the All Devourer."
Do I recognize the bones at all? Like, how alien do they look?
They look like crocodile bones, actually.
Oh. All right. If I saw another one of these beings, like, would it be worth something to you to have a living one of those creatures that's hanging on your vestments?
You have seen an albino crocodile?
Yeah, I'd get around a little bit and do some trading. It's kind of, I'm an antiquarian and I deal in a lot of various artifacts, sometimes living, sometimes exotic reptiles.
Friend, we believe that the albino crocodile is long extinct. It is the All-Devourer expressing his anger at our world by no longer allowing his children to be here with us. And you say you have seen such a thing, or you know where such a thing is?
Yeah, and I kind of point back to where that shack was, where the regular crocodile was.
And another one says, "It is heresy to believe such things. There are no more albino crocodiles. They are gone. They have left the earth."
Maybe it was a trick of the light. It surely looked like one to me, though.
And they gather up and they begin hubbubbing, like in a little tight cluster. And they turn and they say, "Show us this place."
It might have been a blessed vision, but it was more likely just like I was up late and there was a golden monkey in my face, and I just, probably panicked and thought it was an albino crocodile, and it was just like splash in the water.
They scoff and they walk off. They say, "Ridiculous creature," and they keep going down the pier. What do you do then?
The goblins who were working on the coracle have scattered, right?
Yeah, but they didn't go very far. They just wanted to get out of the way of the cult.
I feel like I'll kind of gesture the goblins back, be like, "Just come back. If you guys have got some tree sap and some hot tinders and like a chicken feather, I think I can fix this for you."
They'll yeah, and they'll help you out of the water, and you can begin helping them with the repairs. Let's go back to Glenneth. So Glenneth, you made your trade. What do you do next?
The man I was just trading with wasn't the source of the kind of smoky charred incense aroma.
No, there are just food cookers. There are food cookers
Okay.
all over. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering about the bodies of water. So in the salt market, there is a pool of what looks to be seawater that's significant, small lake size, or?
Oh, it's probably like the size of, I mean, it's pretty big. Probably the size of like
Backyard pond?
half a football field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I am all covered in stuff, I might go and like see if I can access the water and maybe rinse a few things and kind of tidy myself a little bit, see if that would be out of place. I don't want to wash my drawers in a sacred pool or anything, but they're growing crabs and
Yeah, I don't think it's super
stuff out of
sacred.
it. Okay.
You will notice, this is connecting up to Ethelinda's scene, crawling out of the pool, there is what appears to be a skeletal mermaid, a mermaid, but a skeleton. And she's wearing a seaweed wig. And she's crawling out. And she says, "Kiri and Neely, I hear you beckon." And she like crawls out. Her lower
I'm
half
envisioning
is
some sort of aquatic The Ring, like it's very.
it's a lot like that, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of a somewhat demure skeleton. The lower half is like a shark's body, but skeletal, like the skeleton of a shark. Lower half, and then just draped with seaweed, particularly the hair, which has been like fashioned a certain way and woven with little shells, decorative shells. But they open their mouth, and as they speak, like just brackish water dribbles out. And Kiri and Neely, who she's speaking to, you also see they turn. These two teal-colored goblins turn, and they're with Ethelinda. You see Ethelinda as well. And so Ethelinda, Kiri and Neely say, "There's Grandmother Greenteeth. She won't leave us alone. She vexes us all the time."
I see, but didn't you? Do you always call her, or she sometimes just comes on her own?
Well, she shows up on her own sometimes, but we just, sometimes we call her because we want to talk to her. We want to ask her about the old times.
And I'll greet the grandmother.
And she looks up at you and she says, "Who are you, crone?"
I am friend to both you and these two.
"You are no friend of mine. No one is friend of mine."
No one?
No one. And a number of the merchants and hawkers are like going back behind their stalls. They don't want anything to do with Grandmother Greenteeth. And she's just like crawling along the ground out of the pool. And she says, "If you keep company with these two, you are no friend of mine."
And what grudge do you have with these two?
And Kiri says, "No grudge. She has no grudge. She is just an embittered old woman whose time has passed, and we just want to hear her stories before she..."
And I say you will have your time to speak as well. Right now I'm speaking to Grandmother Greenteeth.
And Kiri and Neely, they say nothing. They get quiet. And Grandmother Greenteeth says, "Interesting. You have managed to assert a certain sort of dominance over these two. I respect that." She continues crawling. "So, what is to be done about this situation?"
So you do not like coming here and speaking to these two?
"I do not like coming here. I created here."
I see. And so why is it that you don't want to speak with them? Are they rude to you?
"They are tricksters. They have no respect for seniority. Oh, and their color disagrees with me.
Perhaps you could view them as children and forget the faults that you have with them.
They are certainly children in their minds.
Well, if you perceive them that way, surely it's unfit to treat them so poorly.
Gwyneth, you see this going on. What do you do?
I, as the merchants were kind of pulling away into their stalls, am just sitting at the edge of this body of water, slowly kind of rinsing and wringing my clothes, paying very close attention, and just watching Ethelinda bicker about manners with an undead lady.
Undead mermaid.
Undead grandmother mermaid,
Yes.
yeah. And so after I've kind of like rinsed myself off and about 5 minutes of this conversation has gone on, I will kind of head around the side and join Ethelinda. Who's your new friend?
That's a good place to take a break. Let's take 5. Now, I will tell you, Gwyneth and Ethelinda, that you can convince Grandmother Greenteeth to stop tormenting Kiri and Neely, or to otherwise stop being angry and embittered here, or convince her to do whatever you want, really. But it's a combat role, and it's a social combat role. So you can still get ruin and things, but the ruin just comes from Grandmother Greenteeth using her ancient, her long memory and her ancient ways and cutting remarks to cut you down to size. So if you wish to engage in the combat in order to subdue Grandmother Greenteeth, you can do that. Otherwise, she's going to have her way with Kiri and Neely. So it'll
Okay.
be up to you all.
Sure, I'll try it. It does seem like the town is reacting in such a way that she's the one that is like instigating the situation.
Yeah, I think people don't like Grandmother Greenteeth, but they respect her because, well, as she just claimed, she claims to have made this place. Who knows how true that is, but certainly you can tell everyone is like not happy to see her. So, yeah. What do you think, Gleneth?
If I ask Grandmother Greenteeth, if I addressed her and just wanted to ask her a question, is that also a combat role, or?
No, we can, once you're ready to like engage in that combat, social combat, we can do that. But what do you want to ask her?
Well, I heard her claim of being the creator of this place, so I would address her, oh, venerable, your green teethness, grandmother, how wonderful you must look after all these years. I am fascinated. You made all of this place, and seeing if through some compliments and respect in that kind of language, I might manipulate her to reveal more about what she meant by that.
Oh, I think we could do the combat role, because it'll be this sort of conversation and flattery and stuff that'll be going on. Yeah, so we'll come back to it though. Just want to get you all on board with that. Osto, what do you do once you're done with this man? We should name him, by the way. Let's give him a name. His name will be, we'll name him after a shark, Mako.
Osto will start, presumably he's not able to see any of this business with Grandmother Greenteeth, so I think he'll start walking towards it.
Yeah, you can start going towards the salt market if you want. Is that what you mean, towards the salt market?
Towards the shrine, if that's...
Oh, the shrine, yeah. You have to pass through the salt market, so you might as well go start there. You will reach the market, and you'll be hit with that very heady, pungent, cloying smell. There are people trying to sell you things. One goblin who is very brilliant chartreuse green color, and wearing various bronze bangles and jewelry. She says to you, friend, I assume you are here seeking the Heart Tree Shrine.
That's true.
Well, you will discover that at the shrine there are numerous disagreeable spirits, say, and, well, I have the means to keep them away from you. And she pulls out this bone charm, sort of like kind of like a dream catcher thing, but like made with bones, with a leather loop that you can put around your neck. She says, it possesses a holy aura. Blessed by the lore masters themselves, they will keep the spirits away from you. And because I care about you already so much, I'm going to give you a very, very good deal on it.
Is it the goat? Do you want the goat?
I'm drowning. The goat bleats. She says, yes, perhaps. And she comes around to look at the goat, and she's examining the goat. And she looks up at you and she says, where did you find this goat?
Just not too long away from here. He was saying he was drowning. I thought he might be drowning. He wasn't.
Did you rescue the goat from drowning?
Yeah, I suppose I did.
Good. That means it's grateful. Does this goat possess what you would call a general disposition of gratitude?
Not to me, but possibly to someone.
I can work with that. All right, here, take the charm. I'll take the goat. Seems a fair trade.
Great.
And she takes the goat, and she uses a piece of leather to bind its mouth. She says, just until it's time to feed you, and can't have you scaring off customers. Go forth with your holy charm, and may you take the blessings of Seeker's Rest with you.
Thank you.
Indeed. Korkaluk, you finish up with the repairs. That all goes fine. And they say, well, that's a day's work done then, one of the goblins says. Perhaps you'd like to join us for drinks and a little bit of gambling.
Absolutely, that sounds fabulous.
Well, come along then. And they're going to head over towards the salt market as well. And they'll take you to, there is a gambling table in the market. You watch the games being played for a little bit, and it seems like it's some sort of game that involves like casting runes, and so they have like little stone runes, casting runes, and then sort of discussing the runes. And the rules of this game seem to be changing rapidly and frequently. It's a little hard to keep up with, but everyone's around the table, all the goblins are around the table, they're throwing the runes, and they're arguing about the meaning of the runes, and eventually someone wins the argument and they win the prize. But then there's all sorts of like strange archaic rules about who gets to speak when, and what does a meaning a particular rune means, if a rune is turned a certain way when it's cast, if you're able to actually speak about that rune or not. It's complex.
This sounds like a game right up the alley of somebody with skill in mimicry, myths, and artifacts.
Perhaps, yes.
I'm going to learn this game.
So the goblin who takes you there says, all right, now, It's a very simple game. Just watch and you'll see. And he steps up to the table and they begin the little thing, and they're casting runes. Eventually dice get involved, and it's unclear when or why that happened. Various things are going on. And finally, they ask if you want to step up and have a go.
Yeah, love to.
So
Porcelain bone cracking.
yes, indeed. So you have to make a wager. They will rate. The current wager is a large bottle of marsh gas. Can be used for various purposes, but principally it is highly flammable and makes a great bomb. So it's very, very difficult to bottle, but they have it. They have a sealed up bottle of it.
All right. Is there a way I can convert my one hunt token? So I have no gold yet. Can I convert my one hunt token kind of on the fly here into something wagerable?
Oh, of course.
Or I've got a fishing net for my backpack if they're interested in the fishing net.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
You want
that's always handy.
All right, I'll wager a fishing net for this bottle of marsh gas.
So the goblin says, "Now here's the rules," and it begins like speaking the rules, and like it makes no sense. Well, at least to an outsider, it doesn't make immediate sense. Maybe it does to you though. And he's going on at some length. And unlike when you sit down to play board games with people who never want to hear you talk about the rules, they just want to start playing. All the goblins are very interested in the rules. The rules are really important. And if someone tries to jump ahead, they're like, no, he's not done explaining the rules. And so the rules are going on at some length. And eventually it's done. So do you feel confident you understand the game?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
And so it's a risk roll. What you're trying to win or wager, it's obvious here what you're trying to accomplish. You want to win the game, I assume. What could go wrong, Sarah, Drew, and Fraser?
Is this a casting of bones or stones, or you're kind of throwing
all of the above
dice, essentially?
Yes, all of the above. And then there's this sort of strange interpretation, and then someone wins.
Okay. I think something terrible that could potentially happen is a bad roll could puncture the bottle of marsh gas that's on the table wagered.
Nice. Okay, good. I think that maybe you get accused of cheating. I think that would be a good fail condition. Any other thoughts, Drew or Fraser?
I don't think so.
Corcola could become incredibly indebted to someone there and have to do something, do a favor.
Yeah, you inadvertently wagered much more than you thought you were. Good, love all that. So I'll give you a light dive for your skills that you mentioned earlier about devil's bargains. My devil's bargain is no matter what, you also are going to gain no matter what, you inadvertently telegraph to the rest of the group that you are open and available for marriage.
I think maybe the priest from before tail you, or you haven't assuaged their interests after making the presumption that you've seen their god.
Yeah, the cult shows back up.
I would say no matter what, you find yourself compelled to continue wagering in games of chance. Generally, you find yourself bit by the gambling bug, so to speak.
Love it.
There's another insectile assassin somewhere in here.
Ooh, The sisters show back up. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so you got 4 intriguing offers. Brian, what do you think?
All right. I kind of like the idea of telegraphing that I'm available for marriage, or like I made some weird side bet that threw that on the table.
So you have 2 light dice. I don't need a dark die yet, so go ahead and just roll risk 2.
5.
Success. You are going to win your wager, and I'm going to just push on the devil's bargain as part of the complication to say that a lovely, good-looking goblin lad is presented to you for a marriage proposal as well. So that's what happens. If you don't want to deal with that right now, you might have to deal with it later. But if you don't want to deal with it right in this moment, you can add a dark die.
Does he come from a good family? And is there a dowry involved? I
don't know. Keep your 5 and see. Or you can add a dark die. Do you want to stick with that or try?
I'll keep the 5. I want to see how this plays out. It sounds fun.
All right. We'll come back to it.
And then if we're trying to become accepted in Seeker's Rest, I think, like betrothal is a potential way to do.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe stop living here the rest of my days, but we'll see.
So back to Grandmother Greenteeth. How are you vulnerable, each of you, in this verbal repartee or back and forth? Not repartee, what's the word I'm looking for? Verbal melee is not the right word.
Repartee?
Conflict?
Yeah. So, okay, how are you vulnerable though? So say how you are and then roll forward/weak for a weak die.
I'm definitely I get hurt when people mention my ageist comments and things, so she might see that and with her penetrating gaze.
Twist the knife. Yeah, she already called you crone. Even though she's like literally a skeleton. How about you, Gleneth? How are you vulnerable?
I have a quick temper when people are rude to me. And so I might not be able to be successful multiple times in a row. If she starts laying into me, I might have to aggressively start to complain about it.
That's good. All right, so let's roll some weak points. Forward/weak. Let's see what we got here. Oh, you don't have to put a 1, just weak.
Mine's 6.
All right, weak point 6. And 2. All right, 6 and 2. So we're going to do a combat 2. Ethelinda, kick us off. Do a combat 2. And you're looking for 9 on 2 dice.
I got a 9, but one's a 6, so I got beat up a bit.
Nice, but you do defeat her. So let's just have the scene. So she's going to have a go at you, Gleneth, when she says, Feyborn, That's what you're calling yourselves these days, anyway. I remember back in my day, and that was a very, very long time ago, we didn't call you Feyborn. You weren't so special back then. We called you mushroom herders, because that's what you did. You herded mushrooms while we were building cities and exploring the depths of all knowledge and creating a framework by which all future generations could become closer to the gods. Your people were herding their mushrooms. How far you've come since those days, But it does not cause your ruin to go up. You managed to volley it away. How so? No, that was to Gleneth.
I don't actually know what to make of that. I think I might sputter a bit. I'm just like, well, you're a scruffy looking nerf herder. Like, I don't have nothing. It just like really gets under my skin and I fluster at her and I get all very perturbed.
Not much of a conversationalist, this one. And she looks up at you, Ethelinda, and she says, I imagine you've had your fair share of conversations over your, 70, 80 years of life?
I am younger than I look, madame.
Uh-oh. Younger in spirit, of course, but tell that to your knees, right?
I unconsciously rub my knees.
She says, I'm surprised you would even make the journey to Seeker's Rest, but perhaps it's the name that drew you, Seeker's Rest, because you are seeking your rest, your eternal rest, which is almost certainly on the way.
I think I just say, we both know you enjoy the company of these two, so just stop lashing out at people because you're sad on the inside.
And Neely tugs at your gown and says, get her to tell the story of how she founded Seeker's Rest.
I'll try to do that. Tell us a story, grandmother.
Oh, why should I tell the story to people who won't appreciate it?
Because you enjoy it and you know it.
And she says, I had grander aspirations for this place. And she's now crawling around you in a circle, right? And speaking, but shark-like crawling around. It's a circle. She says, I intended for Seeker's Rest to be a refuge. I intended for it to be a place of learning and knowledge. And they say it is that, but it is also this. And then she like waves her hand at all the merchants and various people, stinking of cooking fire and greed. It's just like any other city, any other settlement. Everyone just trying to make a little bit of coin. It is not what I planned. I will drive them out eventually.
What was it that you did hope for?
And she says, well, the story is better learned on your own. Go to the shrine, learn the history of this place, and understand that things went awry somewhere along the way. And I'm not leaving this mortal coil until I see my original vision restored.
Well, we outsiders haven't come just for trade. We've come for knowledge. And both of us think your hair is lovely.
It's such a vibrant color.
And she sort of like says, oh, yes, thank you for noticing. As for Kiri and Neely, I shall leave them alone if they stop poking me between my ribs.
I'm sure you'll come to an arrangement. They do seem like they want to hear you and speak with you, though.
They converse with each other in their secret language, and then they say, we have agreed to stop poking Grandmother Greenteeth in her ribs.
Excellent. I clap my hands.
And Grandmother Greenteeth crawls back to the saltwater pit and slides back down. And the combat is complete. But you took a ruin, though. Unless you somehow worked in your armor into the conversation, but otherwise, yeah, you just take a ruin.
Yeah, I already marked it because I don't think my leather armor or my coat took the damage or the heat on that one.
Indeed. There's no gold roll here, sadly.
For your ego.
Indeed. No gold roll, but Grandmother Greenteeth is defeated. Opsto, you'll see. You can join up with the other two as you're kind of walking through. You're headed to the Heart Shrine, and you see Grandmother Greenteeth, this skeletal mermaid, crawling back down into the water. What do you do? You'll also see Korkaluk playing the game at the gaming table.
I think I'll wander over to Korkaluk then, because last time we were at gaming tables, it didn't go so well.
So Korkaluk, winning means interpreting the runes. And in this case, the runes are the runes tell a secret about Seeker's Rest. A secret is revealed. And interpret the runes, say what the secret is, and you will be the winner.
So interpret the runes, say what the secret is, and then what was that?
And then you'll be the winner.
I'll be the winner. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I see by the markings on the left die, the number 4 is the number of strangers who arrive in town on a foreseen day. The knuckle bone over here shows the form of a goat hoof, showing they travel with a goat. And the Om rune over here is clearly a means of acceptance to a community, as a community embraces outsiders. And from this, we can clearly deduce, according to the well-established rules, that outsiders arriving in town today will be given nearly a hero's welcome and chaperoned to the temple of their choice.
And there's the rule masters, the game masters confer with each other, and they say, the runes have been interpreted correctly. The outsider is the winner. Congratulations. And there's a hue and a cry. And a goblin who is wearing a thick, like, braid rope of various herbs and leaves and things, and even like garlic bulbs and stuff around his neck. He comes and he's tugging on another goblin, a younger goblin, and he says, good sir, as per the wager, I am here to present your betrothed, my son Lundar.
And I say, I saw this in the runes also, and I wasn't sure culturally if it was appropriate to speak it out loud, or if it's more of a surprise thing in your community. Lundar, so pleased to meet you. I wasn't expecting a marriage opportunity today, but I'm so surprised and happy by it. Perhaps you can show me around your lovely city.
Lundar says, yes, I can do that. My father, Sundar, is the local herbalist. I am an herbalist in training. And there's a lot of fish. And he's sort of like, he says, oh, there's gaming here, but you've done that. And he's like, yeah. And there's just an awkward silence.
Is this that he's totally not interested in it, or he's just,
I don't know. I think he's just like,
wasn't planning on being introduced to a mannequin today?
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix of emotions going on with Lundar right now. And Sundar says, of course, the honorable thing for me to do is to present my son's dowry. And he does. And his son's dowry is, let's see, what is it? 3 caskets of spiced mushroom tea. And they give you the caskets of dry leaf tea. And it says, this is a special blend, only available here in Seeker's Rest. And if you wish to establish your household here in Seeker's Rest, we have a place for you. If you wish to take Lundar back to your own lands, that is also acceptable. I would like to establish trade in other parts of the world, and so this is very convenient for everyone. Isn't that right, Lundar? And Lundar shrugs. And
so that's very, very generous and a fine dowry. I'm traveling light right now, so these should probably stay here in the tavern for safekeeping. Why don't you let Lundar and I just go for a walk and get to know each other and talk a little while?
Very well. Good. All right then. And what was your name, sir?
Oh, I am Korkaluk, and this is my good friend Osto.
Ah, Korkaluk. Good. Good. You are now Korkaluk, son of Sundar. Soon to be son of Sundar, of course. Osto, what are you doing right now?
Looking with clear amusement and surprise, and I think when he gets the chance, he'll kind of sidle up to Korkaluk and say, "Didn't think he was your type, what with no exoskeleton."
The fleshy ones get my attention from time to time, though. I don't know.
Ethelinda and Gleneth, you have defeated Grandmother Greenteeth. Kiri and Neely, thank you. And I think at this point, you have all met the set goal of being accepted as visitors into Seeker's Rest. Set goal accomplished in your various ways. And we can kind of put everybody together at this point if you want. I think probably it's time to kind of come together. The last thing to sort of do in Seeker's Rest is to seek the heart tree, where the shrine is supposed to be. And yeah, that's kind of...
Did you mention a haven earlier, or was that just sort of part of the salt market?
I mentioned a what now?
A haven? I felt like I heard that word earlier.
The haven is the that's like where everybody lives. It's like all the rope bridges and various hanging structures and stuff up above. And you have to go even higher than that to reach the Leviathan's bridge. That's the trickier part. So why don't you put everyone together, including Lundar, and let's just have that scene. Oh, play.
Well, I'll walk up looking a little bit embarrassed, which is strange for a mannequin, but like everyone, this might be my fiance, Lundar, and
Lundar, hi.
May have gambled my way into a marriage, but we're gonna talk it out a little bit, Lundar and I. But I figured, I should at least introduce him to my friends and see how he fits in.
Hello, Lundar. Are you
Hello.
over the moon?
I am contractually delighted, he says.
Of course you are. Yes. How proper of you. Yes, of course. How could you not be?
He says, do you need any herbs?
I actually would love a few herb varieties. I'm actually looking for some salt, if you can help.
Oh,
with that.
sure. There's a what's funny, you should mention that one of the merchants actually dries out the salt water to collect the salt. Doesn't really move it because people don't know why you'd want dry salt, but I guess some people
it's
do.
An outsider thing. It's just it's something that my people find a delicacy.
Oh well, sure. I can show you the way. Absolutely. Anyway, continue the scene.
I'm like side glancing Osto and Ethelinda really hard, saying, "Is this something he does often? We're still. Is this new?"
It's new for me. And I'll look to Lundar and say, "Will these herbs get me high?"
He says, "Oh, Yes, if you want. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, okay, sure. We have such things. Um, yeah, and
Let's blaze, young sir.
indeed. Okay, so what's going on here? I mean, like, are you guys going to make your way to the heart tree or what, or the shrine? What's going on?
Oh yeah, yeah. I vote for the shrine as a player.
I
Asta
imagine us
will
kind of
relay
moving
what
out
he's
of the
doing.
market, and as we were kind of following, he would be able to show me where to get salt and herbs, and we're kind of like moving on the
Oh
move.
yeah. And you could get your salt, no problem. Uh, how much do you need? A good amount of salt? What's the salt for?
Would like a sack,
A
but
sack of
just for
salt.
use. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, you can trade for the salt. If you got just some little small thing from your gear, you can trade for that. Absolutely.
Asto, you already went up to the gates of the heart tree, or in the temple area? Were you already there and back, or?
Didn't quite make it
No,
there.
it hasn't made it yet.
Okay. Well, then let us away.
So
Right.
the Heart Grove Shrine is a new set, and the set goal is to learn the history and significance of the Drifting Temple. Awesome. And so while the Towering Heart Tree, you reach it, you go through the, a little bit of the haven, and then you finally reach the heart tree. The Towering Heart Tree bears an ancient temple in its upper branches, as I've discussed. But for most residents of Seeker's Rest, visiting the shrine at its base is enough, right? It's a dense canopy. So here, a dense canopy shelters a sort of moss-carpeted pathways, pale fungi and delicate orchids. Roots weave and intertwine in every direction. Many of them are inscribed with runes, symbols of small gods, prayers and remembrances, that sort of thing. Shell candles, crystals, ornaments of repurposed metal are all placed in every nook available, while simple prayer flags hang above. And there are symbols and inscriptions throughout the shrine that hint at stories. Now, your set goal here is to learn the history and significance of the Drifting Temple. You may be able to interpret some of these stories in order to do that, if you have some means of doing that. You can also spend tokens if you want to just get straight to that. It's up to you. But I do want to just go around the table and find out what everyone's doing at the start. Ethelinda.
I'll be trying to make sense of things if I can. Maybe I have words and translation, but if they're like hieroglyphics, I guess that might not help.
Okay, that might work. Yeah. What about you, Asta? What will you be doing?
I think Asta will talk to Lundar and see if Lundar has any information about it.
Yeah, good. Korkulek, what about you?
I have skill in myths as well as a ritual of parse to define the true meaning of any word, symbol, etc. So I'm going to town, like get out the ritually business here and see what I can learn from all the symbols that are carved into things.
Yeah, no, that's great. What about you, Gleneth?
I have a skill in prophecy, but it's not something that I've really connected with my character so far. And it's kind of in my mind, because she's always been a very practical person and she's not run across really a powerful spiritual influence before. And so I'm probably very fascinated with the construction and how all these things are woven together in the tree, and then how it is constructed into the carcass itself, and kind of fascinated by the nature of the build, so to speak.
No, I love that. That's great. I think Ethelinda, Korkulek, and Gleneth, you've all got hunt rolls. Sounds like you're all using relevant skills. So go ahead and just do 2 die hunt rolls. Let's see how those turn out.
I'm using a ritual. Is it a risk roll rather than a hunt roll?
What's your ritual that you're using?
Parse.
No, I'll just use it as the basis for your other die. So, or for your second die. There's nothing really risky going on. So
4.
What'd you end up with, Corkaluk?
4 for me also.
Okay, and it looks like you got a 6, Gleneth. Great. Everyone takes a token, but 2 people encounter something terrible. We'll talk about that in a moment. I think this is going to take you probably a good, I don't know, half an hour or so between the 3 of you to kind of just like parse out what this place is, what's going on. I'll give you the whole story. We'll talk about the terrible thing in a minute. I do want to cut over to Osto and Lundar, though. Lundar doesn't seem to be like super comfortable in the Heartgrove Shrine. He doesn't even really, he's there, but he's kind of staying on the sort of outside of all the activity. Because, you know, there are like goblins and other people like moving about, you know, hanging up prayer banners and things like that, you know, and lighting candles and whatnot. I think there's this steady dripping from the canopy above that's sort of tapping out a melody on hollow wood. So it's like just sort of quiet people just going about their religious business, and this water dripping and tapping out this like this rhythm. What do you do, Osto?
I feel like Osto's sitting on like a ledge of something, and he's swinging his legs, just kind of looking around, and he'll say, "So what was it like growing up here?"
He says, you know, good. I have not seen much of anything outside of Seeker's Rest, so I don't have anything to really compare it to. But it's fine. My father does a good trade, and we've always been very happy and comfortable. No complaints. Probably it seems like a very simple life compared to yours. I'm sure you've been all over the world.
Well, I've been around a bit, but I grew up in a very small part of town too.
And he says,
Did you?
He says, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you among your people?
I am 27.
Says,
I look young right now.
He says, is that a very long time?
For some people, unfortunately, but it's not too long, no.
And a wind passes through the shrine, and you can hear some wind chimes made of shell and bone and semi-precious metals sort of clinking together overhead. And he says, so what are you all doing here?
We're looking for the temple.
Oh. Well, there is a way to get to the upper branches of the tree, but I don't know it myself. I'm sure someone might be able to help you.
Do you know anything about the guardian? I was told there's a guardian.
Oh, I've heard stories. They say it's some sort of, well, like a bone guardian, a monster made of bones.
Do you? I guess monsters aren't too frequent around here, huh?
Well, unless you count Grandmother Greenteeth.
Oh, was that the mermaid?
Oh, yeah, she's been around for as long as anyone can remember. She gets along okay with my father. My father's never had an issue with her. She sometimes comes up from the water and buys a very, very large amount of seaweed. I don't know what she does with it.
Well, if you are sticking around with us, you'll definitely get to see a whole bunch of other types of people.
And he's sort of, yeah, we'll just leave it there. The story. The 3 of you in conference with each other will be able to put together the story of this place. Long before the seas began to rise, the ancient goblin seers saw the signs and made preparation. Fleeing their ancestral home as marauding humans encroached upon their borders, they took to the sea in their canoes, called by the song of a great Leviathan. As prophecy foretold, the beast swallowed a fallen star and became imbued with its power, glowing and buoyant. Guided by this living miracle, generations of goblinkin guarded the beast, tending the mangroves which took root on its back and deepening their bonds with the creatures of water and sky. Eventually, they built a sanctuary from the blessed bones of the whale, guiding roots and branches to form the structure which still drifts upright to this day. Generations of monks to come would continue the work, dedicating themselves to life above the city, while the mission of sheltering refugees of all kinds continued below. Access to the drifting temple is only open to initiates of the order. However, such traditions have largely died out, and communication from the temple is rare. That last bit you'll learn from just talking to people. But in any case, this is the story. I'm curious, particularly from Glenneth, if there was anything else you wanted to know about looking at the structure of the place.
It's fairly clear that there have been layers and layers of people who have been constructing this place over generations, and they're kind of like a sediment of construction. There's the oldest bones beneath, and then people might be tying new bits of seaweed or ropes or metal bits, and it sounds like a lot of kind of tokens and talismans everywhere. I think that I don't need to know anything more about the construction, but while I'm observing, I am carefully tying kind of this woven basket of thread around the marble I found in the last session with that little bird skull on it, and I might attach it to one of my scarves. I'm just contemplating where I am.
That's good. While this is all going on, maybe you're all conferring with each other, figuring out the stories, looking at these symbols, piecing the symbols together, the little kind of figuring out what it all means, and also conferring with some of the people there as well to fill in the gaps. You will be aware of a little path, a path of lined with plants with feathery red fronds, sort of just, and the fronds are just sort of undulating. And there's a whole bunch of them. And it's sort of changing color. It starts red, but then it starts to like change into a dark midnight blue. Ethelinda, reminds you of the night sky. Or Glenneth, the colors start to change into a sort of rich, vibrant purple, beloved by the Faeborn. And Korkaluk, they also change to be the color of the pale porcelain mask worn by Patience Davies. But these plants they've grown up in this like kind of little tunnel of root, and they are beckoning you. Ethelinda, what do you do?
I'll go forward and, I don't know, try to probe them in some way.
Korkaluk, what do you do?
Sorry. This is a root tunnel heading upwards, yes?
Oh,
we can't tell.
It's probably both. It's kind of just flat, I guess.
Seems pretty enticing. I'll head that way with kind of a, hey, Lundar, let's go over here and take a look at this tunnel. Tell me about it.
Glenneth, you got 6 in your hunt roll, right? I will tell you that you will intuit that this is a lure of some sort, right? So what do you do?
Ethelinda, oh, I wouldn't touch that. That doesn't seem like no. And then just kind of hold her by her shoulders. I don't think that this is something we should touch.
Oh, it is to be looked at, but not touched.
Yes, like it's in a fine museum in one of your student halls. We look with our eyes.
Ethelinda, you will find that some of the fronds, the long leaves, have started to wrap around your ankles, and they're very sticky. What do?
I try to remove myself, pry myself away from these sticky things.
Korkulek as well. Before you know it, these things have sort of surrounded you all, or the two of you at least, Korkulek and Ethelinda, and their sticky leaves are wrapping around you, trying to pull you down and in deeper to this little tunnel. I think I want to risk roll from someone but maybe with a help roll on the side. Maybe Glenneth, even you have to be the one to do the risk roll because you're the one who's not like being trapped by these things currently.
Yet.
Yeah. Right, exactly. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and we'll resolve that.
Okay.
So before we continue, I do want to say that the set goal is met. So good job there. And I also want to add the little twist as these fern-like creatures begin tangling and trying to draw in Korkulek and Ethelinda. In this little tunnel that they sort of are in, Ethelinda, you will see the siren walking among these plants. The siren, this is for Glenneth's benefit, or Sarah's benefit. The siren appears to Ethelinda and only to Ethelinda as a very, very beautiful young man. We've been saying Timothy Chalamet, a very beautiful young man, naked, drenched in blood, walking among these fronds, beckoning you in, Ethelinda. I'm curious, Ethelinda, as you start to realize what's happening and you see this, what do you do, or how do you react?
I think I freak out, like I scream and say, "No, not again!" And then I grasp for Glenneth even more.
Okay, so Glenneth, free these two. How are you going to do so?
I happen to recently have bartered for an excellent crab claw hook.
Indeed.
And some seaweed braided rope. And I think that I would cast it out to try and hook around like a bone protuberance or a rib cage or some sort of structural component of this to gain leverage and haul. Hopefully all of us eventually getting a hold of the rope and pulling to safety.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, that sounds good. You could just anchor to some of the roots of the mangrove, I suppose. Fabulous. What could go wrong? Drew, Brian, or Fraser? I'm going to keep it simple and say you probably just have to end up fighting these things, right? Might be a combat, so for all of you.
Yeah, like the rope is seaweed, right? So maybe these things eat seaweed.
Although it looks like they eat people.
They're
Doesn't explain Korkulek, but maybe they don't know the difference yet. They're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like a Venus flytrap that it's not actually gonna.
It's terrible.
I think my idea is maybe more of a devil's bargain, but there's something else in amidst the fronds that will grab the rope and come out too.
I was thinking, in sort of doing that lasso wind up for the pitch, that you bust off some important reliquary things that are attached to the trees.
You damage some of the offerings or something about the shrine. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so you've got a light die because you're using the the hooks and the seaweed rope. Devil's bargains. Does anybody have an offer?
Yeah, these frond-like things are sacred, and some goblin member of the temple witnesses this sacrilege of combating them.
I'm going to say no matter what, the siren appears to everyone.
That's what I was gonna do. So
I want that to happen no matter what.
So you can take that as your second light die. And a dark die, I think, is automatic because minds and bodies are being risked here. Bodies are being risked. So roll risk 2-1. Oh, it'll just be /risk and then 2 and then 1. So. Four light is high. The complication is going to be that yeah, I'm gonna go with Brian's idea, which is you damage something in the shrine in order to hook the crab claw hooks. If you don't want to do that, you can add a dark die, roll again, and see if you get a better result.
Could Osto run in and help?
Absolutely. What do you have in mind for helping?
He has a non-seaweed rope, perhaps. So he could
Okay.
throw another one out there.
Yeah, or and just maybe just helping them, like pull them in or whatever as well.
Or
That
that
would be great. Yeah. Sure, go for it. Roll weak to get a light die. Hey, there you go.
6.
6. Full success. So give us the scene here. Start off, Gleneth. How do you rescue the group?
I had hands on Ethelinda's shoulders, and I start to feel her actively freak out. I imagine there's a physical component to that of like, oh no, she's grabbing at me. And I somehow managed to get a good swing, but in doing so, the rope goes out too far in the lasso, and the hook just slashes through a bunch of different totems, and they rain and make a whole bunch of jingly noises as I get it over.
Oh, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen anymore. Sorry.
No,
you do not. No, because the 6, Drew's 6 counts.
Yes,
yeah. So you actually, right. This is a clean success. Yeah.
Then I thought I did, and instead hoist quite mightily, and I realized Osto's behind me, and I didn't actually pull as hard as I thought I was, and we're free.
Nice. I love it. You all managed to get out from the fronds of these creatures. You do get to name them. You get to add them to your bestiary if you wish. Somebody wants to think of a name for them. And they go back to just being kind of like a vibrant sort of vermilion red. But Ethelinda, the siren is still there, and he's walking out of the tunnel, drenched in gore, how you usually see him. But when he steps out of the tunnel, he's not. He's wearing a tunic of kind of made of like seaweed and like net rigging, kind of embroidered with shells and things. And he steps out of the tunnel, and he puts his hand on your cheek, Ethelinda, and he says, "I thought I'd never see you again."
Why do you haunt me across these realities, creature?
I haunt you You are very near my home. I could ask you the same question.
I certainly haven't come for you. I remember the carnage that you wrought.
Oh, we can put all of that behind us, can't we? And then you all see him as well. What do you do?
Ethelinda, do you want to introduce us to your friend? How did you not get stuck in the plants, sir?
He says, oh, we have these where I'm from in my home. We keep them as pets almost. They aren't dangerous if you know how to stroke them the right way, pet them the right way.
I think Asta is going to move to stand in front of Lundar in, absolutely useless because he's like a head and a half shorter.
Head and a half shorter of who? Lundar's probably
From Lundar.
Oh, Lundar's pretty
goblin.
short. He's a goblin.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So not so much shorter.
A young goblin at that. You might even be a little bit, a smidge taller than him, in fact. But in any case, the siren says, my name is not important. Perhaps I'll share it someday with you. My people consider names to contain a certain power, and we don't share them easily. I have never even learned your name, he says to Ethelinda.
Nor shall you.
Your friend has a bit of we have a bit of an interesting history together.
I'll step up adjacent to Ethelinda, but deliberately throw out the wrong name here and say, look, Lou, are you going to give this guy the same treatment that you gave that Nandy back at that hotel? Because that was gruesome. That was just brutal. You were out of control.
To Ethelinda.
I'm saying this to Ethelinda, but giving a false name and trying to make it look like Ethelinda's left a wake of corpses behind her, trying kind of a veiled threat towards the siren.
Yeah, I pump myself up as best as I can and say, that's right, I've become much more formidable too. You would do well not to toy with me anymore, creature.
He says, I'm here to make peace. I have no quarrel with you. I have no desire to satisfy my natural carnal urges with anyone here. I want to invite you all to my home for a meal.
What kind of meal?
Freshly caught.
Why do you desire to have us there?
Well, I just want to clear the air between us.
Gleneth does not have any frame of reference to why Ethelinda knows this man that just came out of a
Neither does
tree
Osto
fern.
and Korkuluk, for that matter. No one does.
And I am curious as to why we get a dinner invitation out of it. And I'm just looking at the other two dumbfounded. What does she usually talk to strangers like this?
Yeah, and I was going with the idea that just from what I've heard in the conversation, it seems like some sort of harassment situation. So I'm just trying.
Yeah, this is a bad ex-boyfriend.
This is a siren that has killed many people in our past, but only... No, I just leave it there. I'm not going to say that, only I can see it.
He says, yes, it's true. My particular species, we do have certain urges. those urges are in fact to eat people. We're particularly fond of human flesh, and yes, we do tend to lead ships astray with our mesmerizing song until they crash against the rocks, and then we, well, like a cracked open oyster shell, we dig in. It's not anything I can help. It's just the way it is. I mean, you're just the way you are. And I promise you, I will not eat you.
Gleneth isn't saying anything, but is balling up little pieces of fabric and putting them in her ears.
Probably a wise move.
And then if we were to refuse this invitation,
I would be heartbroken.
so out of character, what do people want to do?
I mean, we have to defer to Ethelinda and what she wants to do because only you are familiar with this particular, gonna go with creature.
It's very mercurial.
Based on what you've described, it seems like freshly caught dinner here is going to be a little more ghastly than our usual fare.
That's what I would guess.
We also don't know that typically this creature is head to toe covered in blood. That would be news to us.
This
I
is also
remember
not
right.
what they look like normally either. They normally look like horrible octopoid monstrous creatures, right? He's putting this on for you all.
If I remember right, in the Rhyme Palace, Ethelinda described it, but the rest of us hadn't seen it. And so I think I've heard a description of this before.
You saw them in the Ballandrak here. Remember some of the sirens like appeared in the last scene when you were inside the Ballandrak here and went and fought the nursemaids, right? You've seen them in their natural form.
Didn't Osto dance with this one?
I think you did. Yeah, I think you did. But the Rhine Palace is such a hazy fog, right? I mean,
Yeah, and that one, he was like all dressed up and stuff too, right? For a ball.
Yeah. Well, I just remember he eventually ate one of the party goers right there on the dance
couple
floor.
of them.
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah, the Rhine Palace. What happens at the Rhine Palace stays in the Rhine Palace kind of situations, it might have all been a dream, to be honest. But in any case, this gentleman here is inviting you to his grotto for a meal. And Ethelinda, what's your answer?
I say that if you truly mean peace, then I would celebrate that.
Oh, splendid. So then that's a yes?
Yes. And then out of character, I'm agreeing because I think that if we said no, that it would mess us up.
He says, excellent. Good. Well,
wonderful. I mean, we're free 2 weeks next.
He says, oh, well, I mean, I have a fresh catch right now. It'd be a real shame not to share it with you all. It's more than I can handle.
I mean, we do have a few things to tidy up here, perhaps in about an hour.
I think that would be very good. He gives you directions to take your canoe to where his home is. It's nearby. And he says, I will look forward to having you all over for dinner. And I will look forward to making sure that, we just have the most fun. And he goes back into the tunnel of plant creatures. And so there's still the matter of getting up to the higher parts of the tree to reach the Leviathan's bridge. You have not sorted that out yet.
Is there any way that the crab hook and rope that I have already attached to the mangroves would somehow help and assist in climbing?
It's not so much a matter of climbing up to it. It's more a matter of, so the haven, which is where everybody lives, you can get up to the haven, but then from the haven, you have to go higher, right? That's the tricky part. And it's like finding the path higher
I see.
will require a local's help, so, or someone who knows.
Maybe the betrothed father would know how to get up there.
Oh, Sundar might know, yeah, possibly. Especially if he like looks for herbs that sort of grow high up, you know.
Yeah, he's getting that sweet
plants.
produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about if Lundar had family members, extended family, who live at the highest reaches or work in temple or something.
Lindar says, well, my father does do a trade with sky weavers, and well, he does a trade with the sky weavers. I've never been with him on those during those times, but I know he knows how to reach them. And if you find the sky weavers, then you can find the Leviathan's bridge.
All right. Is it worth asking Sundar to make an introduction? What do y'all think? Or should we just ask around some locals saying, hey, can you join us to the Sky Weavers?
Well, I suppose that would depend on if you are intending to have your fiance accompany us the whole journey. Do we want to bring him for dinner?
If we can speak privately for a moment away from Lundar, what I've been thinking or gathering is that he's not that interested in this actual marriage, but I also see him as a useful local resource for the moment. And so my thought was to try and gain what benefits we can in the short term here, and then at some point have a conversation about like, look, if you're not really into this, then like the dowry is still at the tavern. We can go our separate ways. We'll see how it goes. It's kind of my thought or long range intention here. Unless he becomes especially charming and then I'm getting married.
Well, maybe
maybe
Osto and Lundar might, Lundar might be developing feelings for Osto too. Osto is like being very kind to Lundar and, having a little tell me about the waters of your homeworld Usul moment, right? So, yeah, so who knows, where that's going anyway. So conferring with Sundar then? Is that the plan?
Well, it seemed like you could both have the conversation of like, hey, can you help us get into this place? And oh, by the way, your son seems very nice, but
we can all step away for a drink while you have a conversation.
I wonder what they have to drink here.
Get some street
I wonder
food.
if they'll let me drink here.
I have a feeling in Seeker's Rest they don't really care too much about like who drinks when and how. I wonder what kind of drink they do have here. It's actually a really good question. Probably some kind of fermented seaweed beverage, right? That's what I'm guessing. Just
a kombucha that's just way past.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Sundar. You can find Sundar at his stall. Let's paint the scene here. Sundar has all manner of strange plants and herbs and leaves and grasses and all kinds of things, fungi, at his stall, which is in danger of becoming like an actual proper building. It's got walls and things. Just what do you see that is a sort of like strange, unusual ware of Sundar's that sticks out to you? Something unusual, an unusual plant you've never seen before.
There is a special kind of sage that's available, but it is prepared by filleting a fish, leaving it, like packing the sage stems and leaves in between that fillet of fish. The fish are then put into a little like a crawl space that's dug out underneath the edge of the tent and left to ferment and rot into a mush there. And then they're pulled out, and that's the part that's sold. Delicious.
It's repellent, but I love it.
I was thinking maybe he seasons things with like some sort of processed tortoise shells that he smashes together, and it acts as sort of pepper.
Oh, interesting. Okay, love that.
I like the idea that he's taken the very tendrils of the ferns that were about to drag Ethelinda and Corkluck into that tree, that he's actually dried them and they're hanging in bunches, and when they dry, they actually turn all of those possible colors, just really muted kind of rainbow palette.
Cool.
There's a little tree, almost like a bonsai, that is growing miniature, like spiny grape looking things. And they shiver on their own every couple of seconds.
Nice. So I think I'm just going to cut to the chase, and Sundar says, so you want to reach the upper branches, the upper parts of the heart tree, in hopes of reaching the temple. I know the way. I can certainly take you there. I have done a brisk trade from time to time with the Sky Weavers. Have you seen the Sky Weavers?
Oh, we
have
newly
not.
arrived.
Ah, well, if I take you, then you will see them, and it's quite a sight. I think, well, I've heard from other outsiders that seeing the Sky Weavers is, it's sort of one of those things, a wonder of the world.
Are we on a content warning for spiders looking ahead here?
Yeah. So, yes, I'd be happy to take you. Certainly, I can't deny my son-in-law, future son-in-law, and my future son-in-law's friends, can I?
I will look moderately sheepish and glance sideways over at Lundar. What's his expression saying?
Lundar is remarkably chill about everything. He is just doing his, I think he's he's always just been ready for this, and I don't think he's like too put out by it. He doesn't know you or love you, but maybe he views this as a way of getting out of Seeker's Rest. I don't know. He's a very, very mellow guy. One gets the impression that maybe Lundar just, Lundar is he is a youth of Seeker's Rest. He has no particular ambitions. He just chews on strange fungus and and goes about his life, right?
Are there any signs of fungal addiction in this town? Like people
I don't know if you'd be able to recognize it. Everything has a sort of haziness here, right?
I would be curious to know what Corkluck thought the signs of mushroom addiction would be, as a being who has very little processing of foods and drugs.
Yeah, these little things growing out from between your teeth.
Sundar says, yes, I'd be happy to take you, certainly. I can take you now, in fact.
Delightful.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Should we be bringing along, I don't know,
a sky warming
means
gift
of descent, like a friend of ours, Scum, had these beautiful handcrafted wings that would let him glide a little bit. Like, are we going to need those to get back home?
He says, no. It's just the ladders and footbridges. That's it. It's no concern. They're not really sized for most of you, but that's okay. You'll be fine. Come on. And on the way, we shall talk about wedding arrangements. Now, I think we should have the wedding here in Seeker's Rest, personally. Well, because that's very convenient for me. And you all are here, and so why go to any trouble? But I am open to the possibility of perhaps, well, maybe somewhere in the Marsh Cradle, maybe somewhere, we could build a raft, have the ceremony out at sea. That would be interesting.
It's fascinating, but if you're looking to expand your herbal business, there is no place like the Rose District of Amberit.
Well, I don't know this place, but I was also going to suggest that if you would like, we can have the wedding in your lands. I am perfectly fine with that. I will tell you that I am not in a position currently, financially, to finance such a wedding or to finance such a journey. But if you have a means of getting back, then I am happy to go along with you, and I will do my best to make sure that it is a fantastic celebration.
And I say, no, it's no problem. I have a patron who could fund this. And then at that moment, there's this like light bulb moment where Crook looks like, oh shit, I love Patience Davies. I can't possibly marry Lundar.
He takes you to the haven. You are climbing, you're crossing a bunch of like little weaving paths and footbridges and ladders that go up to little landings, and you pass by little huts and hovels and of goblins going about their business, and you're gradually going higher and higher and higher. And eventually he takes you to a part of the haven where there doesn't seem to be anyone. No one has really made their home in this part of the haven. It gets to be very, very quiet. You just hear the drone of insects basically overhead, the occasional chittering of crabs that have managed to climb this high. And there's a warmth as you get higher. And the hazy fugue of the salt market has left you, and it's replaced by just a sort of strong, briny smell on the wind. And you take a couple of more turns, cross a little bridge, go up another ladder, and eventually you see them. You see the Skyweavers. They are octopi that live in the branches of the tree. And they crawl among the branches, and they are mending the branches. They are tying things. They are pruning leaves. They are brilliant colors, and there are dozens and dozens of them. And Sundar says, we're very close now. And I think we'll end the session there. Let's go to stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about the session. Wishes are things you hope to see for next time. Whoever wants to go first, by all means.
I really liked the what's her face, the mermaid lady.
Grandmother Greenteeth.
Yes, and I liked the kids that weren't kids. What are their names again? Keely and Neely?
Kiri and Neely.
Okay, that's like the dwarves in Lord of the Rings, kind of, right?
I think they have names kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And I like the siren, of course. I always like when the siren comes up, even if it's a life and death situation.
Indeed.
Wishes. Oh yeah, I had an idea about you asked before what we thought we might get out of praying at the shrine, and I was thinking I could tie it into the centennial puzzle situation, in that I think at least Ethelinda believes that for her to unlock the secret of the puzzle, she literally has to be a centennial. Like she has to be that old. So
Oh,
trying-
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Grandmother Greenteeth would say, "You're not there already." Yeah. Good. Any other stars or wishes?
Yeah, I like the phrase, "I am contractually delighted." I think I'll try and work that into conversation in the future somewhere. And I loved watching the haggling you all did in the market. I like a good haggle. It was fun to, I don't know, just hear you negotiate all that. In terms of wishes, I'm hoping I can elegantly sidestep the engagement to Lundar and
Yeah,
not
I'm not.
patience
We're
Davies.
not going to make that be a thing. This is it. Just while we're here at Seeker's Rest thing, for sure.
Stars to, yeah, the discussion with Grandmother Greenteeth, that was fun to listen to. And I'm also going to give a star to the goblin that took the disagreeable goat, because I'm glad that came in handy, even though it probably won't.
Indeed. Any wishes, Drew?
Wishes, other than looking forward to seeing how Lundar, how that story goes. Hoping that maybe we see more of Mako and what he learned.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by Mako too. I think that's one of my wishes as well. I'd like to see like if maybe Mako makes an appearance in some way, especially when you get to the temple. Maybe if there's some kind of thing there. I don't know. But any other stars or wishes?
I too really enjoyed Grandmother Greenteeth. I think that any NPC that can throw that much shade is always welcome in a game. I also think for wishes, there was a certain like trading of the goat NPC for a wedding NPC, and I kind of want at some point to have Lundar. We have to save him from drowning at least once.
Nice. Yeah, I'm my stars for I continue to really love this scenario. It's such a fun incursion. It's a pretty low stakes incursion. Like there's not a lot of danger. At least at this point, there's not a huge amount of danger. It's very social, and so I really enjoy that. I continue to like the texture of the whole thing, and I think everyone's doing a really good job of like just kind of integrating their characters into the community and stuff. I think that's really coming across really nicely. In terms of wishes, I wonder if you all do end up taking up the siren on his offer of dinner, and I'm very curious what that will be like. We have time for it because I think we're scheduled for 2 more sessions, so we have time, and I think that's more than enough time to do a side trek out to the Sirens Grotto if you wish. I don't know yet what you're going to find there, but I think it's good. I think it would be really interesting to see. So
I need to add one more star for Sirens Grotto. That's like the world's worst restaurant name.
That's good. Yeah, so I think that's all I've got. Anything else before we go? Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording.